Okay, thank you. Sorry about that delay there, technical difficulties. Appreciate everybody who helped get us back online. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the March 10th, 2025 Board of Selectmen meeting. And as always, we will start it off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next up is the approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of February 27th, 2025?
Lauren Raven, so moved.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo is a yes.
Lauren Raven, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Thank you. And is there a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of February 27th, 2025?
So moved. Yeah.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo is a yes.
Lauren Raven, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Okay, thank you. Going on to the first selectmen's updates. Not too much today. Yesterday, I visited my kindergarten teacher up on King Street, and it was Ruth Wilson's 107th birthday. She looks better and better and better. She emails us every other day. She's on Facebook, so and she had a lot of people there. So God bless her. She's terrific, and we love seeing her, and we'll visit her again throughout the year. But she's just a terrific lady and unofficial queen of Coscop, I guess we could say, right? Can't say mayor. That would be Lou. I also, this weekend, I stopped by to celebrate Sophie Lenschau's 5-year anniversary of being cancer-free. I worked with her on the leukemia fundraiser last year in Westchester. She's terrific. She's going to college, and we're going to make her first select woman for a day when she comes back from school. So it was good to see Sophie. We're going to do a walkthrough on for the Veterans Plaza Park this week, 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday, with the Historic District Commission. We had a very good meeting with them a few weeks ago, and they gave us a couple of really good ideas, so we wanted to take them there. We also met with a potential sculptor last week, and really exciting stuff, and trying to improve upon the renderings we already had. So looking forward to that. The Hamel Rink Task Force will have its first meeting on March 12th. Thank you to everybody who's agreed to serve on that. On March 19th, we'll be doing a walkthrough in the Greenway with the Greenwich Land Trust in the morning. It's also St. Joe's Day, so if you're an Italian out there, happy St. Joe's Day. Also, 2 o'clock today, I'm going to go over to the Public Safety Complex. Bobby Capazzo, our friend's going to take a photo. Yes, on the 19th. Okay. For the Employee of the Month, but was it 13 of them?
I believe so. Not all of them are going to be in the picture, but we are honoring 13 people.
Yes, the 911 operators, so thank you to them. We have the St. Pat's Day Parade a little bit later this year on the 23rd on Sunday, so it starts at 2 o'clock. I know Kate sometimes goes to that, maybe not this year, but she's usually there. On the 25th, we will be raising the Greek flag at 10 a.m., and the Byram Neighborhood Association will be having their meeting at 7 o'clock that day at the Byram Firehouse, 7 p.m. And that's it. I do want to welcome Rosemarie Barada, our newest town attorney. She's been on the job for about a month already, and she's still smiling. So we want to keep her smiling. So good to see you. And I'll turn it over to our friend in Texas.
Thanks, everyone. I'm going to keep it brief because I'm kind of in a noisy environment. And Fred, I think the only thing you might have missed is the Irish flag being raised on the 17th. I would be remiss as an O'Connell not mentioning that. So just keeping it brief because I'm kind of in a noisy environment. Thanks.
I got 25 push-ups for that. Okay. Good morning, Janet.
Good morning, and thank you, Lauren, because I was going to say the same thing as a Someone who married into an Irish family, McWigan. We are looking forward to the 9 a.m. flag raising, but I also have, my younger son was born in Dublin. He was my favorite souvenir from our time in Ireland, so I absolutely need to be there. And other than that, my only other update is in this very room this coming Thursday at 4 o'clock, Waste Free Greenwich will be hosting its Waste Warrior Awards.
Thank you. Talking about screwing up, my two colleagues, there's a McGuigan and an O'Connell, and I forget St. Pat's Day. But I did go to the dinner the other night for Father Murphy, who's the honorary Grand Marshal this year, so I get a little bit of a...
We'll make up for it in the news.
You're off the hook.
Anyway, thank you so much. Going on to old business, we have the request for the approval of the 2025 outdoor dining guidelines. And Kate Bush, our town administrator and COO, is here. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning. I'm glad somebody reminded me about the flag too, being rather Irish myself. So this is the second reading for the outdoor dining. I did send to you last week some more numbers based on your request to what the cost would be for the restaurants if we went with the full cost of putting the barriers in place this year, which is $47 a linear foot. So that would bring it up to $6,531 would be the average cost for restaurants if we were to do that. We did get a couple of comments from people. One of them was supportive of reviewing the costs, making sure that the town was recouping all the costs. The other one was more concerned about the sidewalk space, but that is not what we're talking about here. This is in the street dining. The sidewalk space is they have as of right. They just have to keep a certain amount of space clear. So any questions you have, happy to answer.
Thank you. Yeah, I did reach out to those two people. I left a message for Valerie about the sidewalk to let her know that they could do that now, and they, just as long as they leaves room for people to get through. And I did reach out to Eileen, and I invited her to come in and share some of her thoughts. She's very supportive of outdoor dining. She said she filled out the survey supporting it, but she just had some concerns about the costs and recouping. So I said, listen, you're actually helping us. Janet said last time, we're constantly looking to not kill this. We love the outdoor dining. We wanted to keep monitoring it and seeing if we can make it better each year. So I said maybe in a week or two, we'll sit down with her and go over some ideas that she said she has.
Okay.
Same. We had some feedback, not as much as we've had in past years. At our last meeting, I was expressing, that possibly we are underpricing outdoor dining and therefore oversupplying. We want to get the right balance, because some helps everybody, but too much hurts everybody. I'm not looking for outdoor dining to be a revenue source for the town, but at the same time, we want to get the pricing right. And so, yes, I was actually, even before we got this feedback, I was thinking that we need to perhaps, among the direct costs, besides the foregone parking fees and the installation of the barriers, we probably should have some assignment in that cost for enforcement, whatever that enforcement is. And I don't know what the right formula is, but certainly, from time to time, police are called to investigate various complaints. The health department is, zoning, I think, charges an application fee, which doesn't necessarily cover their enforcement officers. But we do have several entities in town that are working towards enforcing. So, like I said, I don't know what the right amount is, and if we don't do it for this year, we should definitely lay the work for future seasons.
Yeah, I think we need to talk to those departments and find out exactly what the level of enforcement that has been required, what their past experience has been, and determine if we can legally charge, like if the health department has to go out and inspect, do we have the authority to charge an inspection fee or a reinspection fee? The other question would be, if they're violating some zoning regulation, what fines can we implement? But I think we need to get a little bit more data to determine how much that actually happens.
Got it. But meanwhile, I thank you for the research you did, or the calculation you did to figure out how much, on average, it would cost if we just went with the full $47 per linear foot to install the barriers. It doesn't seem overly onerous. I would definitely support, we don't do this in phases, that we just go ahead, because even doing that, we are well below the market rate for this outdoor space.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think with a few more interns coming in the next few months, I think that's a great project to start to look to other municipalities and just compare, contrast what we do. We do that with other departments. I know Parks and Rec, when they present the fees every year, we'll look to our neighboring towns to see if we're in line. I think that's actually something that will help us get to a better place, in addition to the comments from everybody else that is weighing in on it. So I'll certainly ask one of the interns if they'll help us with that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did Lauren have any?
Yeah, the only thing that I would add is I agree to do the full additional cost that you put in, and I agree with my colleague's statements about just getting a little bit more data and understanding. But thank you for the work.
So did you want to do the new fee or just, okay.
It sounds right.
Yeah,
We have a Rachel Laddow's looking to speak.
sure.
Ms. Laddow, you can speak anytime you like.
Hi, I am an employee of Diane's bookstore. She would have loved to attend, but she's not able to, and Zoom is not her thing either. And she just asked if I could reiterate if, at the bottom of the avenue, there are at least 7 restaurants. I don't know how many spots you say take up the avenue, but a majority of them seem to be down by us. And Fred has been very generous in the fact that he has given us 3 or 4 spaces behind our store for 30-minute parking. But Diane really wants to reiterate how much spaces are taken up down at the bottom of the avenue, and how she believes it's affecting her business, and wanted to go on record. And again, to show appreciation for Fred, because he has been very sensitive, and I believe he's spoken to her a few times. But it is a concern at the bottom of the avenue. There are at least 6 to 7 restaurants down there, and they take a lot of those parking spaces. So she wanted to have her comment on record.
Thank you, Rachel. And that's true. I mean, that's Restaurant Row down there. So we certainly appreciate that. And we're going to continue to work at that and see. We did shorten the season up a little bit this year. As we keep saying, we're going to keep monitoring this and seeing how we can, be as accurate as we can in the pricing and as fair as we can be. But also, I mean, you bring up a point where you are. I know it's an issue. One of the businesses there, who's not a restaurant, loves it because he gets walk-in traffic. But again, it's still taking up some spaces. So we'll continue to look at that. And please tell Diane I said hello.
I will, thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Any other comments?
No. So are we ready to vote?
Yeah, we'll entertain a motion.
Okay, Lauren Raven, I move that we request, we approve I was on to new business already, sorry, that we approve the 2025 outdoor dining guidelines.
And that includes the full $47 per linear foot?
Yes,
Okay,
the revised, the ones
Okay.
that we
Great.
revised.
great. So Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Raven, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
And just so people know, if you're a restaurant owner out there, it's not a huge difference. We looked at the numbers are not that different. It's just, again, just trying to be a little bit more fair and cognizant of everybody that's paying rent there. So thank you for that. And thank you, Kate, for digging down on those numbers. Okay, on to new business. We have a request for a temporary lane closure for test pits at Grigg Street and Bruce Park Avenue. And we have Bob Handler and Andrew Vento from Energy Eversource here with us. Again, good to see you. Good to see you guys.
I'm Bob Handler, Eversource on the project. This project is
Just press.
Yes, I'm Bob Handler with Eversource. This is Andrew from Penna. They'll be doing the construction work there. Our request is to do test pitting. The intention is to run a new duct bank that'll go from Gregg down the avenue through Bruce Park. This is the first discovery process of it, to find existing facilities so we can make an exact plan where this duct bank would fit. You might recall, we were here about a year before, where we were planning on enlarging a manhole on the other side of Greenwich Avenue to make room for these wires and conductors. We found that was impossible to widen there between the property line on the sidewalk to the buildings there and the existing sanitary soil line. We have no room to expand that facility. So this duct bank is actually a bypass around those facilities from where we have facilities on Gregg Street all the way down to Bruce Park. So that's our intention.
Thanks, Bob. So when you go down the avenue from Grigg, you're gonna go into Bruce Park, but you're going down as far as where the water is, or you're taking a left on Bruce Park Avenue?
No, stopping basically at Bruce Park, at that intersection of Bruce Park Avenue and Greenwich Avenue. We'd be going into existing facilities
So before you
there.
get down to the railroad underpass?
Right,
Yeah.
before the railroad underpass, right.
What's the time frame, just so people who are listening, that we can expect?
Right now, we'd like to start the test pitting as soon as possible, maybe within a couple of weeks, as soon as the rest of the permits go through. We're finalizing all the plans now, and then I think it'll probably be a month's worth of work of test pitting.
Probably months, at least 3 or 4 weeks for test pitting.
Just say a month, and so I'm just asking the questions that are gonna come to us.
Right.
Time, noise,
Is a tough issue, yes.
Yeah.
We
so what is the
respect
plan now, so people who are listening?
that. For the test pitting, the plan would be doing the work at night. We'd like to have long nights for the opportunity to
Good.
minimize the impact and
Right.
get as much as we can, so,
To shorten the time period.
late evening start, right, to shorten the whole duration. The earlier we could start in the evening and work until 8, 9 in the morning would be our night, so that we could get more work done per
No, and
work
that's-
setup day.
And we go through this every year with all projects, so it's perfectly understandable. So just what are we thinking about as far as to expect, as far as what kind of noise? So we're gonna try and prep people. and
Loud noise, I mean, it doesn't help. They have like a suction truck.
A
that
vacuum truck.
A vacuum truck.
So a similar piece of equipment, if you've seen them, that remove debris from the catch basins, during springtime with all the leaf debris. A vehicle like that and excavator.
So you start at 9, you'd think, and at night?
Night at
Start
night.
setting 9, 10,
And I think when we did the water line work
Right.
on Greenwich Avenue, we had 10 to 10, if I believe.
So, could we, just in case, now's the time to do it, because if
Yes.
it's June and July, the windows are open, then people will be going crazy. And it has to be done, we know that. So could we monitor it and see, like, if you can start a little earlier, maybe sometimes, if it's possible?
But we'll
what
be
people-
flexible to move to whatever
Absolutely.
you're,
Yeah,
whatever we find.
we'll let you know what we're hearing, because again, if somebody, goes to bed at 11 o'clock and they just can't sleep, they're like me, they're a light sleeper, and they, maybe getting a little more done at the beginning. But we'll certainly let them know, the quicker you get done, it's only a temporary thing, but, it's always gonna be something, it's never a good time, right?
right. And this is the early investigation to what we would plan on putting a duct bank down the street, which will be a total excavation like the water line was and going in, so.
And how
once
long will
we
that
get-
be, Bob?
how long did the water line take in that area, do you recall?
I think it was about six weeks, 8
6 weeks or so.
And we'd probably be
But-
looking at something similar to install the electrical work from really the intersection of Gregg's at Greenwich Avenue down to the intersection of Greenwich and Railroad.
But just to,
Again, depending on what we find in the road, what our obstacles are, and how the process of the installation goes.
And just keep in mind, we have a huge project going on Railroad Avenue.
Yes.
It's the new Greenwich Crossing, and they're hoping to be done later this year. So they're gonna be doing a lot of things there. I don't know if they'll be there at night, so it may work out well, but you may run into, cross each other's paths there. Because you're gonna go right, that's right where the work is being done. Janet?
Well, I had the same questions that Fred had, but just to be clear to our audience, what you're talking about, ultimately, that's a different permit.
For the
right,
second
that- right.
part, once
Yes.
we take
There's-
these
so there's two
findings,
phases to
get
this
it back on,
project.
we'll be back here to apply for the
Got it.
second phase of doing it. And hopefully we'll have some lessons learned of what works or doesn't work.
Got it,
for
yeah,
the-
no,
the
just-
second
yeah, just
part
to
of
be
it.
clear, it's 2 phases. Would you be working every night, or is it intermittent?
Every weeknight, I don't think they'll work through the
It will be-
weekends, but
No, no, but it will be
yeah,
every
It would be
night.
every
Right.
night.
Because- okay.
It's either Sunday through Thursday night or Monday night through Friday night.
Okay, and well, our typical question, have the, residents that are nearby, have they been notified?
No, we haven't done any outreach yet. We're waiting to get through the permit process, then we'll have an outreach person, at least go through all the commercials there, and also the residents, each building we'll talk to,
Yeah, there's
let them
people
know
on-
our intention before we start. I try to do that closer to the start date, so people are, have a solid thing that we're coming next week, and they have a definite time frame
Right,
to
'cause
remember it in.
that would be really critical, that they are aware.
Yeah, I know you do this, the sooner the better. And the test pit part of the project would be
We
right
are
after.
also
I'm sorry?
kind of.
When you start the other
working
second
to,
phase of the project, it would be right following on the heels of this,
I'd
correct?
like to, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
depending on time of year and everything else like that, but yeah, I'd like to do it right on the heels of this and move it right through. But it'll be subject to what the town wants us to do.
Okay.
Could I ask a quick question?
Yeah, oh, yes, Lauren,
Yeah, can you just remind me again the timing, because I think I missed that, when to start and finish, and will it interfere with outdoor dining?
It shouldn't, it's April, they're talking about April?
April for
For-
the test pitting, and then if we can move right into the duck bank, it would be into May.
May, early part of June.
Well, right, phase 1 would be 4 weeks.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, and that
one.
is an issue because it's right, as you heard Rachel before, it's right in the middle of Restaurant Row, and it's right when outdoor dining starts, so we may get some pushback from the restaurants on that.
That's true. So once we get this phase part
Yeah.
done, the first part, then we'll come and discuss what's the best interest of everybody to start the second part.
I mean, the kitchens, they're not going to be serving food at 10:30 at night, so, I mean, but again, I asked you if you'd consider starting earlier, but
right,
but you may run into, I mean, we're going to have to monitor this. I know normally, if it's a big project, we'll say, hey, can you come back in 2 months and let us know, give us an update. Here, we may ask you every couple of weeks just to call in and just let us know. And we may, because we may have some questions and things to relay to you too, if you haven't heard through
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
director.
Chris Farrell was on vacation this week, but he's constant in
He's
touch with
terrific.
us and you, and
Chris is
he'll-
great.
He'll work between us, and we'll make sure you're aware of
Perfect.
every part of what's going on, and
Okay.
we can shift hours and plans according to needs.
Well,
I don't know. It would depend. We'd have to see what, I mean, we do have a noise variance, but we'd have to see and also talk with, because the health department does still like to get involved with this and get notice of these things, and they're always concerned about, the health and well-being of the people there. So knowing full well you have to get the work done. But yeah, I think the sooner the better, but we may go back and forth a little bit just to see if we can, amend it a little bit, the work schedule, if we have to.
Okay, we understand.
but Fred, that's a good point about check-ins. I mean, because this is a first read, we're going to have a second read at our next meeting, and then we're into April already. So I would say plan on coming back, every Board of
meeting.
Selectmen
We'll
meeting.
plan on coming in, at least
You could call
discussing
in
where we
too.
are.
Yeah.
It's not that many, but we're upon it, so.
Yeah, and I know time is of the essence, so if you come back in 2 weeks, if you can contact the people, so we're not voting on something that they haven't heard of and they didn't bring
Okay,
the
so
paper.
you'd like our outreach people before?
If you
at
could do
point?
that, it would be very
Before the
helpful.
next meeting, I'll
Yeah.
get them started.
Because
this
we may
week
have
on
some
it, yeah.
more information to give you, so when you could put it into your plans, but that would be really helpful. So this 2-week period can actually work well with that too.
I'll reach out to them today and get them moving toward that way.
Yeah, and again, if you guys are busy, you want to call in, Zoom in, that's fine too.
Okay.
I know you're busy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Okay.
Our next meeting is the 27th. Thursday.
Yeah, I'll be in touch with Chris and
Sure, we'll get everything arranged.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Andrew. About this issue? Only if it's about this
Peter,
issue.
are you speaking on this issue or something else? Peter Alexander, are you speaking on this issue or something else? I'm gonna
This
count-
issue.
Okay, yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah, what is the purpose? Is it? Why are we doing this?
Yes.
Is it to,
There's an existing.
Green.
Oh,
There you go.
I did it wrong, sorry. There's an existing manhole on the street that's over congested and it has too many wires in it. And for worker safety and in case of a failure that would have a catastrophic effect in that location, we're having several of our wires circumvent this manhole and go around it so that we don't have the congestion in that manhole, which our original intention was to expand. Once we couldn't, this is our alternative plan today.
Gotcha. Thank you.
will it be allow for an increase in population?
This particular, the wires that are there now are of sufficient capacity for increased demand and usage in the area. This is basically rerouting them, so if there was a catastrophic failure, it would not knock out the lower section of town for just too
Thank you.
long of a period. Okay?
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, appreciate it. See you guys soon. Okay, next up is the second and last item under new business, and our friend Peter Schweinfurth is here, who is the Energy Management Advisory Committee Chairman, and he's going to present the annual report of EMAC. Morning, Peter.
All right, Peter Schweinfurth, Energy Management Advisory Committee. So anyway, I'll kind of jump right to it. We've been at this for a couple of years now, and, you set a goal of reducing energy consumption by 20 to 40%. We're not doing it. Last year, we spent $8 million on energy. That was down from $8.5 million the year before. That $500,000 delta was all related to gas. We had a slightly warmer winter, so we used less gas and it was cheaper than the prior winter, and so voila, right? So the flip side of that, of course, is this winter is a little bit colder, and we're probably going to be back to the $8.5 million level of total spending this year. So really, the punchline, and we've been saying this for a while, is that, we have to tackle the big buildings, especially the new projects. And if you don't do that, you're just not going to get the step change in energy usage. An example I'll give you, we live in an 1889 house, right, an old house. So going back maybe 15 years ago, I started replacing all the light bulbs with LEDs, and that took a couple of years, but it made a difference. And then I also put in thermostats that, would set automatically. So in other words, when the room was unoccupied, that it didn't heat the room or cool the room. And, you set your set points a little higher or a little lower, just to be more economical. But after that, it's like, I'm done. I can't do any more unless I get into structural things. And that's really, I think, where we are with the town, right? The town has done its LED light replacements and a little this and a little that, but otherwise, we're really flatlining in terms of energy consumption. So the way to, really systematically address energy usage is, number one, with the new buildings. And number two, frankly, I would suggest energy audits, for example, for all of the school buildings. They're not really good performing energy efficient buildings, and you'll get a return on your investment. So anyway, why don't we talk about a couple of the major projects? So we'll start with Central Middle School. So last year, of course, there was a big push, as you know, to have the building committee choose a net zero energy design, right? And so that's a combination of a, very tight envelope, well-constructed, well-insulated building combined with a geothermal system and, solar PV. So the building committee rejected that and decided to go with a conventional build. Well, again, so now you're gonna lock in, now you've got a bigger building with central air, and I can guarantee you that it will spend more money and use more energy than the building that it's replacing. So, anyway, I guess you win some and you lose some, but again, we miss an opportunity with 100,000 square feet of new building. I won't make a value judgment and say it's the right thing to do, but certainly if you want to reduce your energy consumption and your energy costs, then you have to, do that. Right now, we're hoping that solar PV will be part of what we're gonna move forward with, and that frankly was in the ed specs, and it was in the budget that was approved, but then it was taken out of the budget so that they could spend the money on other things, so it's still a little bit unclear as to where that stands. And so I'll get into some of the recommendations as it relates to building committees in a minute, but that building committee kind of does its own things, and I do hear from Board of Ed people that, well, we gave them ed specs and they said they were following them, but then they said they weren't following them, then they said they didn't have to, and so anyway, it's a little bit complicated. Old Greenwich School, again, one of our major suggestions will be, to revamp the ed specs or to have a common set of energy efficiency guidelines that go into all ed specs. Old Greenwich School, for example, they take the ed specs as basically their constitution, understandably. But on the other hand, they also use it as a shield to say, well, we don't have to do that because it wasn't in the ed specs, right? So there's really going to be no money spent on energy efficiency for that building. As you know, it's an ancient building. It was probably, might be the original, well, wouldn't be the original, but it was one of the very early brickstone buildings.
1902.
1902, Sound Beach School, exactly. And, I've been in the insides of that building, and, the difference between the inside and the outside is one brick, and that's it. So, we're just going to be blowing basically money out the windows and out the walls. But, that's kind of where we've ended up, which is unfortunate. Ham Ave. Ham Ave, I think, is a pretty good story. So, we've been going back and forth now for well over 2 years. Actually, we've been going back and forth since 2009 when they realized that the HVAC system wasn't working, wasn't installed well, wasn't designed well, was never really run properly. The maintenance has been an issue because nobody knew what it did or what it didn't do and why it did what it, anyway, so it's been a bit of a mess. But anyway, so we brought in another engineer, AECOM, to look at both systems, a conventional system and a refurbed geothermal system, and they recommended the refurbed geothermal system. And Ben Brannion and GPS have accepted that recommendation. They made that recommendation to the Board of Ed. The Board of Ed accepted it as well, 6-1. And it's my understanding that it has also gone to the BET, and the BET has essentially approved it as well. You might know better than I do. Is it Is this an interim or is it in the budget?
For the geothermal?
Yeah, well, I guess it would be in the.
I thought it was in the
It's in
budget.
the budget.
It is in the budget, okay. So anyway, so hopefully that will move forward. You know, I'll run through the various projects, and then I'll come back and try to make this all tie up a little bit better. New lab school, you know, we discovered that there was a solar system. It's my understanding now that it has been connected, and I asked Ben, I said, well, can I have access to the inverted portal so that I can take a look and see it with my own eyes, how it's performing, and they don't know where the portal is or how to access it or any of that kind of stuff. At least they didn't last time I talked to him. So anyway, so that's one of those basic things, is kind of like, can,
Yeah, there's been, I think, a historical pattern where I don't think the town has really taken it as serious as we should have, dating back to 2009, and that's, I think, what we want to change.
yeah.
going forward.
So anyway, so the Hamel rink, you know, obviously that was disappointing to have it all kind of be rejected, but anyway,
It's back in the,
Yes,
there's a
yes.
task force, and thank you, EMAC, for being a part of
Indeed.
it.
Yes.
I think whatever we do, whatever the task force decides and to present to us, I think energy efficiency needs to be a part of it. We know rinks are a big,
yes,
are a
huge
big
energy users.
opportunity.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so I think that we have to really put our foot down on this one and make sure it's part of it.
Indeed. The Cohen Eastern Greenwich Civic Center. So there has been, again, back and forth on, you know, the solar system. We put out the RFP over 2 years ago, and Green Skies was awarded the RFP. And then I guess indemnity issues have been getting in our way of really engaging them and finalizing the contract and putting the system up. So I don't exactly know where it is right now. I believe that Kate Bush has recommended a power purchase agreement, which it should be the town administrator's right to do because it doesn't require any capital outlay. Now it's really just kind of an issue of, well, I guess because the contract requires the town of Greenwich to indemnify a third party, it has to get RTM approval. And so I believe that is in the works. But anyway, it just seems,
I think, and Kate had a great answer for that. I mean, they answered all the questions. I think there was one BET member that thought that it's a capital lease, and you know, but that was it was only one person there that thought that. But I think, you know, we've talked about, you know, what happens if, you know, the Green Skies goes away, and all those questions have been answered. So I think we're going in the right spot.
Well, it's on the RTM call for tonight, actually.
oh, okay.
It's item 17,
God.
I believe so.
We have an excellent collaboration with planning and zoning. So we have an energy narrative requirement in place. Building applicants come and tell us what they're going to do or what they're not going to do, I guess. And so we use that as an opportunity to go back at everyone and say, hey, did you think of this? Did you think of that? Can you do better? Right? And so I think just being consistent in our messaging over time, because it's a handful of builders in town, a handful of architects, a handful of attorneys that do all of these applications. So if we keep harping on the fact that this is what we're expecting and this is what we're looking for, maybe we'll start getting it, right? All right, let's jump to conclusions, recommendations. So I do want to add, because again, I consider this a draft, you know, until we agree on it. I want to include one, or I'd like to amend it to include one sentence here that I think will make some sense of this. And it's 6 recommendations that we put in here. These recommendations are offered as an integrated, holistic package of action items that complement and strengthen each other when implemented together. So basically what we're saying is that this is a fixed menu. This is not a la carte. This is not choose your own. These are all meant to tie together. So let me explain how we think about it. It goes back to the Central Middle School decision not to pursue a geothermal system, not pursue a net zero energy building. So the RTM said, look, the town needs to start doing this. So the RTM passed a SOMR that basically said you need to look at energy efficient electrified systems for new building projects, school and town.
Gonna amend that, but.
So that SOMR then would lead into sort of the, the overarching, mandate for ed specs. And those ed specs then can be basically promulgated to all building committees. Now, one of our recommendations is that you just have one building committee, one standing building committee like they do in Stanford. That would make, and as well as combining the facilities department, or have one sort of unified facilities department, whether it's in two different places, but at least. So if you have one building committee that understands, basically the charter and the mission, and you have one facilities department, then you have one-on-one, interacting with each other, getting to know each other, being able to finish each other's sentences, and it'll be a much more effective and efficient way of doing things. Now, I'll admit that, so I wrote the first draft of this, handed it off to one of my colleagues. They have edited, I should say, some of these recommendations. So specifically the merging the facilities departments, when I reread it, there's a bit of McKinsey speak in there. It does come across as more like, Doge efficiency than was intended, all right? Our intent is not to try to tell the town how to run more efficiently and save money. No, on the contrary, frankly, last year we said the school's facilities department is understaffed and they need more people. They still need more people. But honestly, if you think about, so we've been going back on the Hamilton system and, for now 3 years, I've heard Dan Watson say, look, we don't have the people, we don't have the time, we don't understand it, we just can't invest in that, So Dominic Franco on his team seems to be the one person who's sort of self-schooled himself on geothermal. My idea is that, if in the near future we start talking about geothermal as an opportunity for the Hamel rink, right? Well, that's the town side, but still Dominic Franco is our expert, right? So why don't we invest in Dominic and say, Dominic, you're our geothermal guy. We want to use your expertise in other schools and in other town buildings. You would also have the other, so we're going to put solar on the Civic Center, right? So maybe there's somebody in Luigi's department that can figure out, look, I got to manage these systems. I need to understand how they're performing and be able to call, Green Skies or whoever O&M, contractor is to get them fixed or to, do whatever, right? So we can invest in somebody else or other people that can then be a resource on the town side and on the school side, right? I sort of think of it as a mutual aid society, right? One fire department helps another fire department. One facilities department can help the other facilities department, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel on every project. And then if you have a unified facilities, approach, and you have one building committee, then I think you can get a lot more done, more quickly, more efficiently, and more consistently. Part of the issue too is, we've got different building management systems in different parts of the town, right? That's inefficient. We should, be able to consolidate on one building management system or one type of inverter for solar systems so that we have a common portal so that when we go to look at what they're doing, we're looking at one system and not 5 systems. So that's our idea on how we can be more efficient, because then that allows us to adopt these new technologies and not run away from them and not say, we don't understand them, we don't know how they work. Well, then we have people who say, we know exactly how they work and we know how to, run them and fix them. And again, so if we're not achieving our energy reduction goals because we simply aren't willing or able or competent to use these technologies, That's what I think we need to fix. The other major recommendations, well, one is hire a town energy manager, right? Somebody who's going to coordinate all of this and think about it across, the church and state, right? And then again, have a commissioning agent, I think is one of the most important things. We didn't have a commissioning agent for New Lebanon or for Hamilton Avenue. So that's where things get broken, because nobody is really ultimately responsible for tying all the different, work threads and technology threads together. So anyway, so that's what we got.
So I agree with you on hiring the energy manager. I know Matt Deschamps is a big supporter of that. Since adding headcount's not looked upon favorably, this year I did a grants coordinator as a consultant and put it in the budget, which I hope it passes. It's a lot cheaper, but it does the same thing. I'm thinking maybe we can do the same thing here, maybe a consultant, because no sense putting something in if you know that
Sure.
it's going to meet a swift death.
Right.
So I would absolutely agree with you on that. I think it's very important. I love the fact about the efficiencies. 4 or 5 years ago, I suggested folding the building maintenance of the Board of Ed into our town with that, and not cutting staff, but actually bringing them under one umbrella for the reasons that you mentioned. So I'm totally supportive of that. I know when I spoke with Ben Brandon, he liked the idea, but Ben came to the conclusion it was a little bit more difficult to do than he had previously thought. But it's done in other places. You brought up one building committee. I brought that up to, I think it was a former moderator, and just threw it out there because there was a couple towns that, as you mentioned, one of them that had that. There's some questions about that. I thought it was worth looking into. Again, didn't seem to be much interest at that point. But, I think almost all of these are doable, and certainly some of them we should absolutely do. You're always going to get 1,000,001 questions on each one, but who could be against efficiency, right? Coordination, right? Looking and having somebody, because we just haven't taken it that seriously. And when one thing failed in Ham Ave many years ago, people, I think, used it as an excuse to just say, hey, it doesn't work, wasted our time, when the fault was lying with us, not the actual system. It's just, we faltered on that. So I totally support the recommendations, but I think we as a town have to commit to taking it more seriously, and just like we're doing now with the building committees, anything I put together, EMAC has to be a part of it. And I think when Somers said last year that they would like the town to look into it, I think we have to change shall to may, to require it.
Yeah.
To require it.
Go from a SOMR to a charter. Yep. No,
I
absolutely.
know Janet had a couple things.
When it comes to EMAC, I always have something to say, and very, very positive. So starting with thank you so much to you and everything that all of the other members of EMAC have done to create this report and to promote energy efficiency and energy and greening energy. I agree. The town definitely needs to look deeper into this idea of an energy manager, into a unified and standing building committee. Now, when it comes to town staff, I think that's a no-brainer. When it comes to appointed volunteers, they would probably have to rotate on and off, because that would be something of a heavy lift, but definitely doable. We definitely have to consider that sometimes you have to spend money to save money. But in the end, the bottom line is worth it. Just to add to, everything that you've said is just really excellent. Just to add to some of those thoughts, a few meetings ago, Wendy Zhao, who is the town's policy analyst, came before the Board of Selectmen and talked about key performance indicators, which are they're an addendum to our plan of conservation and development, and they are metrics that help the town track our progress. And I would think that in this report, there are a lot of potential KPIs that she could use. So I just wanted to put you together with her, because obviously she would need some guidance on those. But that would be really helpful, because you can't know what you're dealing with unless you can see it, measure it. So these, they're very much a policy wonks fever dream, but they're really important. So I will definitely circle back to her on those. Another point, if you look at the second to last bullet point on what EMAC's responsibilities are, it's to promote to the public, to educate the public, so that we can also encourage energy use reduction among residential and commercial units. Friends of mine, I connected with them at 2 events last week, at a Pollinator Pathways event, at a Food Shed Network event. They, in their home, have installed solar and said, well, why isn't the town doing more to support homeowners? And I know that we try, we want to, but it struck me that as a starting point, we should at least have a vetted resource list. We should at least have, maybe a how to get started best practice list. Given that EMAC is populated with volunteers and you already have a lot on your plate, I was going to ask if we could use some of Wendy's time to develop those kind of resource sheets, using EMAC as her guide.
You could also have an intern help with that too.
We could have an intern, absolutely.
Yeah, well, I did highlight a couple of workshops that we did.
And they were excellent.
And
They
the
were
solar plus
excellent.
battery storage workshop is online. It's on the EMAC page.
Yes, no, they were excellent. I just thought, just some more things in our arsenal, I think, would be helpful. We want to be very careful. We don't want to look like we're promoting particular vendors. But there's no reason to not promote best practices, and this is, how to get started.
Yeah, and also we looked into that. I reached out to, I think, the ethics committee about that in the past, where if we have vendors in different departments that they were using to make sure that they were all licensed, but no one was pointing to one. They just say, hey, here's a list of all the companies or vendors that do this type of work. They're all licensed and insured. You go pick and do, so we put the information out there and let the individual make the choice. But I was always concerned that, some people may get more work just because, Peter's a nice guy, So I think that's, to Janet's point, we're not looking to promote anybody, just to get the information out there.
Sure. Yep.
Okay, no, this is I don't know if Lauren has any.
She's off.
Oh, she had to leave. Oh,
She had to jump off.
okay.
But thank you. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Pete. A lot of work in there. Thank you so much. And we're slowly moving it down the field, but I think now we have to be a little bit more have a more sense of urgency on it, I think.
What I'm hoping for is that we're going to have some wins soon.
Yeah, yes.
We're going to install a geothermal system, or we're going to fix the geothermal system and we're going to put up solar panels at the Civic Center. We'll be able to see them from the trains and be like, why didn't we do that long?
Points on the board. Yeah, I agree. Thank you very much. Okay,
You have Bob DeAngelis on the public comment.
absolutely. Been waiting patiently. Good morning, Bob.
Bob
You have to make it green.
Sorry. Bob D'Angelo, one of the co-chairs of the Selectmen's Active Transportation Task Force. Vin DeMarco couldn't make it, so, my words are his words. It's a we thing. Just 2 quick updates I wanted to fill you in on. Last week, we had several great Zoom meetings with PTA, Health and Wellness, PTAC, and the president of PTAC, John Fisher, had a meeting with a lot of his people. So we talked about 2 things. DPW is dialoguing with Connecticut DOT. There's a group there doing safe routes to school, basically. So the town was in that, or looked at that many, many years ago. But we're going to try to take a look at that now in terms of the state come down for free. They do walk audits and take a look at the schools where, we might be able to make some safer routes to school that kids can bike or walk to school. So that was one of the things. The other thing we spoke about is Wednesday, May 7th is National Bike Walk and Roll to School Day. And I wanted you three to put that date, save that date, because one of the things that we'll work towards to make it, get all the schools registered and have some fun with that, along with awareness, is to invite town leaders to either walk or bike to schools. So if you have a bike, put some air in your tires. If you're walking, get your sneakers on. Maybe on May 7th, you pick a school and walk with some kids to, your school. With your 107-year-old kindergarten teacher, Fred, you can get her out and do that.
If I can keep up with her.
Okay, the second thing is, we've seen, Randy Carvella, some of the groups in Coscob wrote a letter to the editor about their concerns for, the adaptive signal control technology and exclusive things and safety aspects in their area with people that have to go across Route 1, walking across, transiting that, how dangerous that really is. And I think town leadership did a super thing in the past year by really having a public forum, publicizing the results of the town survey, which, one of the number one priorities was the safety, road safety and general safety in general. And then, secondly, I think the town did great to have a bunch of little community public forums. People could express what they were concerned about. And Vin and I went to every one of them. I thought they were great. I would say a majority of the feedback we heard was road safety related, speeding, some real aggressive behavior. So credit the town on that. So I would ask, as when we move forward talking about that on this signal technology stuff and exclusive, what that means to give a walker a little bit more time. If we had two things that we were trying to look at, what would you prioritize? One is moving traffic along Route 1 faster, basically, smoother. But the other thing is making it more safer for people that are walking, adaptive users, bicycles. Vin and I, the task force, we would recommend put a very, very high priority on the safety of non-motorized users, basically. And I think what we worry about is when we start the Route 1 bridge down at Greenwich High School, the town's going to be gridlock. And I think if we feel that the roads are somewhat dangerous, we see aggressive driving, speeding, passing buses that have their signs out, I think when that project starts, there's going to be a lot of people that are just crazed to get to where they need to go to faster, taking little roads that weren't built for that. And I think we're going to see really a lot of dangerous, aggressive driving that's going to translate to much more increased danger for pedestrians, people on bikes that they're trying to get to school. Because you see more walkers, more bikers crossing major Route 1 and major roads to get to where you want to go. So I think anything that puts increased safety on walkers and bikers is a good thing moving forward.
Thanks, Bobby. And you brought up the fact that it's like a conflicting goals there. We went to the Riverside Association and they said, we love what the town's doing where Coscob did not.
Yeah.
So, and as you said, it's hard to balance the two, but we're all walkers and hikers and bikers. And so we're trying to continue to push pedestrian safety while allowing for a freer flow of traffic to move along quicker on the post road.
Right.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's combining the two and striking that balance, which is hard. But I think DPW understands that. They've heard from different sections, different views on it.
Right.
but you're right. It's once that the other project starts, Greenwich Creek,
Yeah,
we're going to see a lot
Yeah.
of traffic in other areas, and where people walk and normally don't have to worry that much
Right.
about it, they will have to start worrying.
yeah, and I mean, we run a lot of clinics at the schools. We're getting ready to run more private lessons, this and that, different organizations. And, I think we always tell a story up front. We were both born and raised here. You were born and raised here. We rode bikes in the 60s all over town. Nobody wore a helmet because they weren't invented yet. And we went to the beaches, to the parks, to school, all over. And the road layout back in the 60s is exactly the same road layout that we have today. Nothing's really changed. What really has changed is more cars, faster cars, bigger cars, and the real danger out there is distracted driving. So, we tell the kids, you have to own your own safety, and that's part of it. But we also feel that the town has a responsibility to put in some safer infrastructure and build infrastructure. So those are the things that we're working on, and adaptive signal technology, slowing things down, or protected lanes or increased training. That's all part of the the infrastructure part of it. So thank you.
Thank you. Well said.
Thank you, Bob. I would absolutely agree that safety is paramount. I mean, how can you compare 1 minute of my time versus a life? Really, that's what it comes down to. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and we'll continue to push on that, and also whenever we can to work with other towns and the connecting greenways and bike paths and looking at grants. I know even receiving the grants sometimes people don't appreciate them, but I think the majority of people do, and it's to me it's not even a choice; it's something we have to do.
Yeah, and I appreciate all the efforts towards it. I think what we're really trying to do in Greenwich is to build, a safer, share the road culture, because you can always do better. And there's a lot of places that have done that, and everybody benefits from it. But it's a paradigm shift. It's putting, we're kind of car centric here. We are. I mean, I say that's really the truth of it. And I think what we're really trying to do is to try to build some parity with pedestrians, walkers, for a lot of good reasons, all positive reasons.
Bobby says, Anthony Moore brought that up recently. He said, I lived in other parts of the country where it's pedestrian centric. He said, Greenwich has always been car,
Yeah.
and he's right. And that's why we've had some issues where people push back when we do intersection improvements or sidewalks or, crosswalks. But it's always been that way. And again, it's going to take time. I
Right.
think we're pushing the ball down the field in the right direction, but I think it takes a little longer in Greenwich because it's always has been a car centric, and we want to change that.
Yeah, no, and I think the other thing too that it's part of it too is towns and municipalities across the United States that have invested in infrastructure do it. They view it as a competitive thing. They want to attract young families, and a lot of people are looking at towns that have that kind of micromobility. So I think from a competitive standpoint, it makes great sense for Greenwich to do that, just because we are Greenwich and it is attractive, but it's pretty competitive out there, and I think we increase our competitiveness to attract young families, which is the future of anybody's town, with a safe, share the road culture and micro mobility.
Couldn't have said it any better.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, I think we don't have.
So nominations, Lauren had to jump off, so I'm going to do my best Lauren impersonation. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, better you than me.
But you were about to say.
No.
Do we have any nominations?
No, you didn't have to. You
Okay.
beat me to it, which is great.
All right. So the two nominations that we have are for the same entity. So I'll do, with your permission, I'll do it together. Janet Stone McWigan, I move that we nominate Romulo Samaniego, who is returning to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, Affordable Housing Trust, in the position of R5, expiring March 31st, 2028. And Sally Bednar, who's also returning to the Affordable Housing Trust in the position of R2, expiring March 31st, 2028.
Fred Camillo, I second that. All those in favor? Fred Camillo's a yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Okay, 201. Thank you very much, Janet. Well done. All right, great. So seeing that there's no other business, is there a motion to adjourn?
Janet Stone McWigan, I so move.
Fred Camillo, I second that. All those in favor? Fred Camillo's a yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Okay, 201. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Don. Have a great day.